इंडिया और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच की ये ओडीआई सीरीज जिसका पहला मुकाबला ऑलरेडी इंडिया जीत चुकी थी 5 विकेट से। आज है दूसरा मुकाबला जो कि होलकर स्टेडियम इंदौर में खेला जाएगा। पंजाब से उड़कर टीम पहुंच चुकी है इंदौर, लेकिन टीम के साथ एक खिलाड़ी नहीं पहुंचे और वो है जसप्रीत बुमराह। फिलहाल अपडेट ये है उनके बारे में कि जसप्रीत बुमराह एक शॉर्ट ब्रेक ले रहे हैं इस मुकाबले से, जहां वो अपने घर जाएंगे और अपनी फैमिली टाइम थोड़ा स्पेंड करेंगे एंड आफ्टरवर्ड्स वो वापसी करेंगे। तब तक उनकी गैर मौजूदगी में मुकेश कुमार टीम का पार्ट रहेंगे एज इज रिप्लेसमेंट। नाउ आई हैव प्रत्यय तिवारी टू वेलकम। प्रत्यय, this is second ODI. We have no Jasprit Bumrah. There has been a discussion about the trio of Indian bowling: Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, and Mohammad Shami. Jasprit Bumrah is not there. Can we see Siraj to be part of the playing 11 today?
Yes, definitely. I think उनको भी थोड़े आराम की जरूरत थी because he had a brilliant run in the Asia Cup final, picking a historic 6-4 and dismantling Sri Lanka into all proportions. So I think he would have needed, it would do some good to him getting that rest. And of course, Jasprit Bumrah as well, because there was a short turnaround time. You just played a couple of days ago and, again, you're playing another game. And ODIs can be a bit of a stretch, on the body, because most of the players are playing more of T20 cricket, where you have to just bowl what you have, like a one spell in ODI cricket, like a 4-over spell, and your entire quota gets done there. So I think bowling 10 overs, it's slightly, in these conditions, Mohali was pretty hot and humid. So I think even otherwise, it would have made a bit of sense to bring back another fresh fast bowler and rest Bumrah. And now, of course, that gives him time to spend some time with his family, of course. So yes, I see Siraj coming back in. Mukesh Kumar, he's not a part of the squad, the World Cup squad. So I think they are perhaps seeing him as one of the backup options, that in case there's an injury, in case there's something which goes wrong during the tournament. So you need to have those players mentally prepared. So keeping them in the squad is not a bad idea, because when they are in the squad, you get your competitive juices flowing. You know that we are a part of the team. In case, a sudden situation or a contingency arrives, we are the ones who are going to be looked at. So instead of suddenly blooding someone in, you keep them in the squad, you keep them mentally prepared and ready for the challenge. So in case that something goes wrong, they are fit and prepared to come into the side. So I think, but as you said, that I feel that Siraj should be the one who should be coming in, alongside, of course, Mohammad Shami and Shardul Thakur as well.
राइट और इसके पहले भी ये बात चल रही थी कि जब इंडिया के पास तीनों बॉलिंग ऑप्शंस अवेलेबल हैं, सो व्हाई दे आर नॉट यूजिंग ऑल थ्री एंड यूजिंग शार्दुल ठाकुर इन प्लेस, बिकॉज तीनों को गेम टाइम मिल जाएगा। प्लस हमें पता है कि हमने एशिया कप में देखा था ऑलरेडी मोहम्मद शमी को सिर्फ एक मैच खेलने को मिला था, और हमने जसप्रीत बुमराह और सिराज को कॉन्टिन्यूसली खेलते हुए देखा था, और शमी उस प्लान ऑफ एक्शन का पार्ट नहीं थे। बट इस बायलैटरल सीरीज में हम तीनों ही प्लेयर्स को एक साथ मौका दे सकते थे बॉलिंग करने का, बट हमने शार्दुल ठाकुर को चुना। डू यू सी दैट एज अ गुड प्लान ऑफ एक्शन इन अगेंस्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया, मे बी वर्ल्ड कप से पहले? इज इट अ गुड प्लान ऑफ एक्शन?
See, I think it always makes sense for you to play your 11 best players, because in a tournament like a World Cup, you would want to field your best 11, which is the most balanced one. I agree to the school of thought that, yes, Shardul Thakur brings in some sort of a balance, and he gives you that bit of glue which is required down the order, because he extends your batting depth, and he is someone who has a happy knack of picking wickets, because, whenever nothing is happening, you suddenly throw the ball towards him and he will deliver with a wicket or two. It's a strange sort of a thing that keeps on happening with Shardul. But I still feel that you have to play your 11 best players on the given day. And resting someone, I think that, yes, Mohammad Siraj, due to his recent exploits, has gone up in the pecking order when you talk about Shami, Bumrah and Siraj. So yes, you are talking about your two frontline pacers being Bumrah and Siraj, and resting someone like a Mohammad Shami. But then you saw what he did in Mohali. On his day, he is someone who can single-handedly run through batting lineups. And resting that kind of a player of his caliber, of his class, of his maturity of understanding the game, someone who has plenty of experience of playing red ball cricket, white ball cricket, to rest a player like him, I think that is not the most sensible thing to do, because you want, as I said, you always want your 11 best players out in the middle. The argument that comes in is that you want batting depth, and you don't want your number 11s to start from number 8, because unfortunately for India, the batting from number 8 to 11 is nearly non-existent, because most of them cannot even hold a bat. So you're not expecting runs from them, because you're not blessed with the likes of England or Australia, who are batting until number 10. Sean Abbott or an Agar coming in for number 10, or someone like a Vanendu Hasaranga, the Sam Currans, the Chris Wokes. You don't have those kind of players. So Shardul kind of gives you that depth. But then again, the point is that if your 7 players from 1 to 7, if on a given day they are not able to perform, how much is the number 8 going to do? We saw an example or two in that case in 2019 World Cup when Jadeja dragged that game against New Zealand, playing a knock, and he nearly won India the game. So
Yeah.
aberrations aside, if you see in general, how much is your number eight going to give you if your top seven have faltered, or top five of your top seven have faltered? It is not going to be a daily routine affair in which you will see that okay, number eight will win you the match. So
Right.
is it what the team management needs to ask itself is it a wise decision to compromise on a bowling option and a bowling resource as good as Mohammad Shami in return of the little bit of extra depth that a Shardul Thakur gives you with the ball, or
Right.
not? And if the answer to that question is yes, then of course, which seems to be the likely case. If you see what has been going on,
Yeah.
you will see that they are going to play Shardul Thakur. But personally, if you ask me what I am a fan of, I believe that you have to play your 11 best players, and your 11 best players will unfortunately have Shardul Thakur sitting out for Mohammad Shami. So if I were to be given the choice, I would be playing in Shami, but I don't see the Indian management doing that.
Okay. So right now we have got this update that Australia has won the toss and they have opted to field first. So definitely हमको यहाँ पर इंडिया बैटिंग करते दिखाई देगी. आज सेकंड ओडीआई है जहाँ पर केएल राहुल हमें आज कैप्टन दिखाई पड़ेंगे. थर्ड ओडीआई में इंडिया अपने फुल स्ट्रेंथ पर वापस होगी, जहाँ आप देख सकते हैं रोहित शर्मा और विराट कोहली को वापसी करते हुए टीम के लिए. अब थर्ड ओडीआई के लिए जसप्रीत बुमराह अवेलेबल होंगे कि नहीं होंगे उसके लिए आई एम नॉट वेरी श्योर, बिकॉज कोई अपडेट एज सच आई नहीं उनको लेकर के. बट सेकंड ओडीआई में वो अवेलेबल नहीं है. एज पर टॉस ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरफ से स्टीव स्मिथ विल बी द कैप्टन टुडे. मिच मार्श और पैट कमिंस दोनों नहीं होंगे, और जैसा कि कहा गया कि जसप्रीत बुमराह रेस्टेड हैं और प्रसिद्ध कम्स इन उनकी जगह 11 में उनको रखा गया है. दैट्स क्वाइट अ न्यूज. सिराज को मौका नहीं दिया गया इनकी जगह, और जसप्रीत बुमराह को रेस्ट कर प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा को खेल में लाए हैं. अभी हम लोग बात कर रहे थे अबाउट द चेंज इन द 11 राइट नाउ, और अभी हमको ये अपडेट मिली है. खैर हम इस अपडेट के बारे में बात करेंगे, बट पहले आपको जल्दी से दिखा देते हैं हेड टू हेड के नंबर्स इंडिया और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच में किस तरीके से दिखाई पड़ रहे हैं. दोनों ही टीम्स ने अभी तक 147 मैचेस खेले हैं, जिसमें इंडिया ने 55, ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने 82, और नो रिजल्ट रहा है 10 मुकाबलों का. वहीं अगर पिच रिपोर्ट की बात करी जाए तो दोनों ही टीम्स के बीच का ये मुकाबला होलकर क्रिकेट स्टेडियम इंदौर में खेला जाएगा, और ये स्टेडियम हिस्टोरिकली नोन है अपने बैटिंग डिलाइट होने के चलते. बैटिंग पैराडाइज कहा जाता है. इट्स अ फ्लैट ट्रैक, सो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पर बैट्समैन काफी एंजॉय करने वाले हैं, और बॉलर्स को थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्टी होगा, उनके लिए चैलेंजिंग होगा अपने स्किल को कंप्लीटली यहाँ पर उभार कर रख पाना. अभी तक पेसर्स ने 48 विकेट्स क्लेम किए हैं, वही स्पिनर्स को 37 विकेट्स मिले हैं. इन 6 ODIs एट दिस ग्राउंड, बैटिंग फर्स्ट हैज वन 4 times व्हाइल चेजिंग 1 in 2 मैचेस. और ऑस्ट्रेलिया अपना डिसीजन टॉस के बाद का ले चुकी है. अब एक बार फिर से हम वापस से इस तरफ लौटते हैं. प्रत्यय जो फर्स्ट ओडीआई था वो काफी हद तक मैं कहूंगी कि बहुत सारे हमारे नोशंस को ब्रेक करके गया. एक तो हमने देखा विदाउट रोहित शर्मा जिस तरीके से ओपनिंग जोड़ी ने कमाल किया. इसके अलावा हमने सूर्य कुमार यादव को एक 50 स्कोर होते हुए देखा, दैट टू इन ओडीआई, जिसमें वो कंप्लीटली फ्लॉप रह रहे थे अभी जब से उन्होंने डेब्यू किया है. और सभी कह रहे थे कि वो अभी तक ही इज येट टू क्रैक दैट ओडीआई थिंग, बिकॉज वंस ही डू इट देन आफ्टरवर्ड्स यू विल सी हिम गोइंग स्काई रॉकेटेड इन ओडीआई ओनली. क्या उस रॉकेट लॉन्च हो चुका है? क्या हमें दिख रहे हैं वो साइंस कि अब यहाँ से देयर इज नो समथिंग जो हम उनको वापस करते हुए देखे, वापसी करते हुए देखे? इज ही लाइक द स्काई द वे वी सी हिम इन T20I? Are we going to witness him in the same way in ODIs from now onward?
See, I think what he exactly did was opposite to his reputation. We are talking about skyrocketing and the kind of batter he is, because we know that he has, the ability to play unorthodox shots, reach to, unusual parts of the grounds in the most unusual of fashions. But what I liked about him in the previous game was that he really played nothing fancy. It was traditional cricket. There was barely any shot which he played or tried to do too much. 1-6 that went off his edge. That was a shot that you can say, and there was another ramp that he played. Apart from that, if you see all his boundaries, almost all of them were in the traditional V. So he was, looking to curtail that instinct of his, which led to his undoing. Because in the previous series in 2023, that India ended up losing, he had 3 consecutive ducks, and he wasn't even being put the bat on ball. So I think he made that mental adjustment more than technical, because skill he already has it. So there is no question about that whether he has the skill or he doesn't. But it was about being aware about the format, being aware what you need to do, what kind of adjustments you need to make, because this is not T20 cricket. where you have an aim of hitting 50 runs in 20 balls or 50 runs in 25 balls. You have to play time because there are 50 overs. So you're talking about 2.5 the times of a length that you play in T20 cricket. There you're playing 20 overs, and here you're playing 50. So I think the adjustment was really heartening to see. No fancy shots, nothing too flashy of sorts. And I think it was a very composed half century. Yes, he would be slightly disappointed with the fact that he wasn't able to finish the game off. But apart from that, I think it's a 50 which will give him a lot more confidence than any other innings that he has played, because it comes in at a time when you desperately need him to fire, and it's a pressure on him as well, because see, despite all that, the management has constantly thrown their weight behind him. They're constantly backing him despite repeated failures, because they know what kind of a player he is. If he gets going, he is going to win you 2-3 games single-handedly. He is that kind of a player. So once you're given that kind of faith, once that kind of trust has been shown in you, it becomes your responsibility to repay that. And I think to that extent, Suryakumar did extremely well in the previous game. So it was a 50 which will give him a lot of confidence. Same goes for even KL Rahul, because it was a captain's knock. Similar to him, he was injured, came back with a century with a bang, against Pakistan in Asia Cup. Always a high pressure game, a brilliant century there, a gritty 39 against Sri Lanka on a tough track where India was struggling. And then he gets this 50 as well in the previous game, and winning India the game. The most important part is that you play the winning shot, you stay like a responsible player up until the end, played a sixer, played a four, and he won India the game. So I think it's a very good sign for India with these two coming back amongst the top.
Right, even there was a question like before KL Rahul made a comeback from his century, people were questioning we are not very well prepared for the World Cup because we don't have our number 4 sorted. Now I can see since KL Rahul has made a comeback, he's in brilliant form these days, as you rightly mentioned about his scores in recent 2 to 3 matches. So people are saying like there is now a problem with Shreyas Iyer because KL Rahul has already made his position very much cemented at number 4. So if Shreyas Iyer comes into the picture in the World Cup, precisely I'm saying, so at what position are we going to see him play? Is he going to take that number 4 position? Is he going to play at some other position? Or maybe he's not going to be the part of the playing 11 in the very first scenario? How do you see this?
See, he will definitely be a part because number 4 is an important position. And yes, of course, he is lacking on game time, and he would be terribly disappointed in the manner in which he got out in the previous game, because he was run out for 3 at a moment when there was no need of risk taking required, because you had gotten off to a brilliant start, 142 run partnership between your openers, Shubman Gill and Ruturaj Gaikwad, and I think it was a brilliant partnership. So it was a platform which was completely set for Iyer to take off, play the waiting game, exactly what Suryakumar Yadav did. And these were two contrasting partnerships that we saw between Gill and Gaikwad and Rahul and Sky, because the first one was very free-flowing, extremely delectable strokes, and they just were running away with the game, scoring over, a runner ball. Whereas you saw that, Rahul and Sky, they gave each other time, they played the waiting game, they played the game to the merit, and they built up a partnership. I think that is exactly what Iyer should have done, that he should have taken that opportunity, because he is coming after a long injury layoff as well. And even in the Asia Cup, he played only a couple of games where he did not get a lot of chance, because against Pakistan, he did not bat for too long. Against Nepal, you won by 10 wickets, you never got a chance to bat. And after that, he was out because of back spasms. So I think every game that he's now playing is a big opportunity for him to capitalize upon. And to throw away his wicket in the fashion he did, he would be definitely disappointed. But speaking of his position, see, I think number 4 has been a bugbear for India for since quite long. In 2019 World Cup, we were again talking about the entire Ambati Raidu and Vijay Shankar debate, and it remains a persistent issue even right now. So I think, given the record, given how you performed, there have been voices that should you play a Kohli there at number 4 and all of that. But I'm personally not a fan of tinkering too much with positions, because you play the best batter at the best position. So if someone is convenient playing number 3 and they've played their entire career almost at that position, give them that spot. At number 4, you have Shreyas Iyer, who has, in whatever amount of cricket he has played, he has done enough to claim a stake to that position. What the only thing remains now is that you have to give him game time. So I think these upcoming 2 games and the couple of warm-ups that India is going to play, those are very important for him. As for his batting position, I see him at 4 and KL Rahul at 5, with his backup being Ishan Kishan, of course. And what I liked in the previous game was another fact that India did not tinker with the batting combination in terms of the batting position. See, because you did not have Rohit Sharma playing, and there could have been an inclination of playing an Ishan Kishan alongside Shubman Gill at the top of the order, or a KL Rahul at the top of the order alongside Gill. But
Yeah.
what they did well was they blooded in Ruturaj Gaikwad and kept they kept Kishan and Sky and Rahul's batting position intact. Because right now it is not the time for experiment. That time is done. Now you are talking about an 11 which is settled, and that you have to play in the World Cup. So I think Iyer at 4 and KL Rahul 5 is the way forward. But Iyer definitely needs an innings or two to just kind of exactly what KL Rahul has done in the remaining 3-4 matches that he has, including the warm ups. He needs to do that he needs to do that big time.
चलिए इसी के साथ एक बार प्लेइंग 11 देख लेते हैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया और इंडिया की तरफ से, बिकॉज टॉस होने के बाद जिस तरीके से अपडेट्स आई हैं, कॉम्बिनेशन में क्या चेंजेस हुए हैं, एक बार उस पर नजर डालते हैं दोनों की प्लेइंग 11 की तरफ। सबसे पहले हम देखेंगे ऑस्ट्रेलिया की प्लेइंग 11, जहां पर हम देख सकते हैं आज कैप्टन है स्टीव स्मिथ, और उनके साथ वहीं हम अगर 11 की तरफ नजर डालें तो डेविड वॉर्नर, मैथ्यू शॉट, स्टीव स्मिथ, मानस लबुशेन, जॉश इंग्लिश, एलेक्स कैरी, कैमरून ग्रीन, शॉन अबॉट, एडम जैम्पा, जॉश हेजलवुड और स्पेंसर जॉनसन, जिनका आज डेब्यू हुआ है ऑस्ट्रेलिया के लिए। काफी एक्साइटिंग टैलेंट है, इनके बारे में भी बात करेंगे। अब देखते हैं इंडिया की प्लेइंग 11 की तरफ कैसा कॉम्बिनेशन दिखाई पड़ रहा है। केएल राहुल द कैप्टन, उनकी निगरानी में शुभमन गिल, ऋतुराज गायकवाड एज ओपनर्स, आफ्टरवर्ड्स श्रेयस अय्यर, केएल राहुल एज विकेट कीपर कैप्टन, ईशान किशन, सूर्य कुमार यादव, रविंद्र जडेजा, आर अश्विन, शार्दुल ठाकुर, मोहम्मद शमी और प्रसिद्ध कृष्णा। तो ये कुछ इस तरीके से इंडिया और ऑस्ट्रेलिया की प्लेइंग 11 है। अब थोड़ी सी ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरफ भी नजर डालते हैं तो प्रत्यय स्पेंसर जॉनसन, उनका आज डेब्यू हुआ है, काफी एक्साइटिंग टैलेंट है। द 100 में भी इनका नाम हुआ था और उसके बाद में अब हम उन्हें देख रहे हैं डेब्यू करते हुए। आई थिंक दैट इज अ गुड वे टू सी अ न्यू टैलेंट। बट आज की जो पिच है होलकर क्रिकेट स्टेडियम इंदौर, वहां पर किसी ऑस्ट्रेलियन प्लेयर का डेब्यू, मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ही अलग सा कॉम्बिनेशन है। या तो भैया आप हीरो बन जाओगे या तो एकदम से जीरो रह जाओगे। बट आज हम उनसे क्या एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं स्पेंसर जॉनसन इटसेल्फ ऑन दिस पर्टिकुलर पिच, जो कि एकदम फ्लैट है।
Very rightly pointed out, Ratsi, because this is a ground that we know is known for big runs. 418 versus West Indies, in which Virendra Sehwag scored a double century. The previous game itself that India ended up playing here, they scored well over 300 against New Zealand. Shubman Gill got a century. So I think it's a ground which is a sort of a bowler's graveyard. But what excites me about Spencer Johnson, of course, any pacer who is coming up the ranks from Australia or Pakistan, you always have an eye on them, because these are two nations which are known for preparing, quality world-class pacers. What excites me about Spencer Johnson the most is, and why India should be worried, is because he's again a left-arm pacer, and India's struggle against left arm are well documented. You talk about Shaheen, you talk about Trent Bolt, you talk about Reece Topley. I remember his 6-4. Mitchell Starc in the 2023 series itself, he had run through India in one of the games as well. And now Spencer Johnson. So I think he would be perhaps targeting that sort of a chink in India's armor, because it's a right hand dominated batting lineup that you have, and it's a side which is known to struggle against left arm, and not just left arm pacers even for that matter. Dunit Velalage, the performance that he gave against India in the Asia Cup, I think again he is a left arm spinner. So I think left arm has been, no matter how hard everyone tries to deny or cloak that issue and say that okay, we don't look at these things, we don't look at matchups, but we know that the modern day cricket is dominated by these things. It is dominated by the matchups, it is dominated by data, and you keep a mind of you need to be mindful of these things. So I think yes, not a very ideal ground to be making a debut, because there's every chance that you would be thwacked out of the park, because it's that kind of a ground, short boundary, it's flattest of wickets that you will ever get to play upon. So yes, it could be difficult, but I still think that it's a great opportunity for him, because he is one of the names that we are going to hear a lot about in the times to come. And in Mitchell Starc's absence, he is someone who could be looked upon, because he's Starc again pretty fit and fine, but that okay, some or the other time in the coming 3 or 4 years, he might not as well be a part of the Australian 11, and he will have to go out of cricket, because his age is not exactly on his side now, gradually. So I think it's a very good option that Australia have in Spencer Johnson, and looking forward to see how he plays today.
डेफिनेटली। चलिए इसी के साथ एक बार प्लेयर टू वॉच आउट पर नजर डाल लेते हैं। इंडिया और ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरफ से हमें कौन से खिलाड़ी हैं जिन पर होगी नजर सभी की। अगर बात करें इंडिया की तरफ से, शुभमन गिल, जिन्होंने प्रीवियस मुकाबले में 70+ स्कोर किया था, बहुत ही प्यारी ओपनिंग पार्टनरशिप ऋतुराज गायकवाड के साथ दिखाई थी। शुभमन गिल होंगे वहां इंडिया की तरफ से प्लेयर टू वॉच आउट। 34 मैचेस में उन्होंने 1813 रन स्कोर किए हैं, 950s और 500s उनके नाम है इन जस्ट स्पैन ऑफ 34 मैचेस, विच इज क्वाइट अ गुड नंबर टू हैव। वहीं अगर हम बात करें ऑस्ट्रेलिया की तरफ से, तो फिर प्लेयर टू वॉच आउट हमें दिखाई पड़ते हैं द कैप्टन ऑफ टुडेज मैच इज वेल, स्टीवन स्मिथ। 143 matches, 4,980 runs, quite close to get to 5,000 runs in the ODIs. Average 44.46, 87.32 strike rate, 29 50s and 12 hundreds. Now the golden question, Pratyay. सिंस हमें पता है कि आज शुभमन गिल और स्टीवन स्मिथ से आज काफी उम्मीदें होंगी इस मुकाबले में। एक तो होलकर स्टेडियम बैटिंग पिच है, सो डेफिनेटली बैट्समैन से हम बहुत कुछ एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे। But if we go by the other two players to watch out from India and Australia, which other two player you think can be the player whom we can watch out for?
I think from Australia, I'll go David Warner because he played a very good knock in the previous game, and he made full use of the reprieve he got on 14 because it was a dolly that Shreyas Iyer dropped. Had it not been the case, he would have been out on 14, but went on to convert that knock. So yes, he has been in fine nick. Steven Smith, I think yes, he's leading today in Pat Cummins' absence, which is slightly strange for me at this point in time. Perhaps if there is a niggle, then of course it's a different scenario. But I can't really fathom why would you want to rest a Cummins who already wasn't a part of the South Africa series as recently as the last couple of weeks. So yeah, that does not make a lot of sense to me. And again, they've rested. Matt Short is coming up to the order because of Mitchell Marsh being rested. So it does not make a lot of sense, at this point of time. If it's a niggle, like I said, then it's all right. But if you're resting players as close to the World Cup, that two players who haven't really had a lot of game time, then it does not really make a lot of sense to me. So Steven Smith, because of that reason, because he is leading the side, and in the previous game he looked really solid. Until he got that beautiful nip backer from Shami, 41 or 60 he scored, looked very solid. So I think Smith and Warner would be the one for watch out for from Australia. From India, I think Gill, he has been the man in form. Previous game as well, the manner in which he played Asia Cup, chart topping tally of 302 runs. So yeah, he is high on confidence. Apart from him, I think you have to look out for Shreyas Iyer because he would be hungry. Like I said, having failed, having not gotten a lot of game time, and an unlucky kind of a dismissal in the previous game, and now the pressure increases because everyone around you has started to get the runs. So Ruturaj Gaikwad, who is not even a part of the squad, he comes in and scores a nice 70. Gill has got a 70. Suryakumar scored a half century. KL Rahul scored a half century. So that also kind of starts playing onto your mind कि मेरे आजू बाजू सब runs बना रहे हैं और मेरे से runs नहीं बन रहे और मेरे ऊपर pressure भी है. So that kind of starts to rile you up a little. So I think, and no better ground than this, Rajsi, because if you are a batter, you would want this opportunity. You would want to seize it with both hands, with both legs, and with everything. Throw everything on it because you know that this is a ground where you can do all sorts of things. So if you get your eye in, you know that you can do wonders. So I think it's a perfect opportunity, and if Shreyas Iyer misses out today, he would be terribly disappointed. So I think he is definitely one of the players to keep an eye upon.
चलिए, तो इसी के साथ ये 4 टैलेंट्स हैं जिन पर आप नजर रख सकते हैं। एक बार ध्यान देते हैं सोशल ट्रैकर की तरफ, क्या कुछ ट्वीट्स की दुनिया में चल रहा है इस मुकाबले को लेकर के और लोग क्या शेयर कर रहे हैं। सबसे पहला ट्वीट क्रिकट्रैकर का आप देख सकते हैं, ऑस्ट्रेलिया हैज लॉस्ट 4 consecutive ODI games. Can they bounce back tonight against the number 1 ODI team? डेफिनेटली इंडिया अभी रिसेंटली उन्होंने क्लेम किया है तीनों फॉर्मेट्स में नंबर 1 टीम होने का, और हम देख सकते हैं यहाँ पर स्टार्ट ऑस्ट्रेलिया का इन द लास्ट 4 ODI मैचेस। साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट लास्ट 3 मुकाबले वो हार कर आ रहे हैं, और वहीं पहला ODI इंडिया से ऑलरेडी ऑस्ट्रेलिया हार चुकी है। देखते हैं ये दूसरा मुकाबला किस तरीके से बीतेगा। देखते हैं अगला ट्वीट। CricTracker का ये ट्वीट, शुभमन गिल surpasses Babar Azam for the most 100+ partnerships in ODIs in 2023. Most times involved in 100+ run partnership in ODIs in 2023. हम देख सकते हैं शुभमन गिल 7 times, बाबर आजम 6 times. और शुभमन गिल जिस तरीके से टैलेंट उभर करके आ रहे हैं, अगर स्पेसिफिकली हम इनकी बात करें प्रत्यय, शुभमन गिल he has been a luxury to us again, because हम सभी को मालूम है जिस तरीके से इंडिया का हम अभी तक का कॉम्बिनेशन देखते आ रहे हैं। यूजुअली हमें लगता था कि भाई रोहित शर्मा है जिसको हमें ओपनिंग में फिक्स रखना है, और हमने बाकी दूसरे ओपनर्स को थोड़ा फ्रीक्वेंटली चेंज होते हुए देखा और बहुत सारे कॉम्बिनेशंस भी ट्राई किए गए। बट मुझे लगता है वो जो सेकंड ओपनर का भी स्लॉट है वो समहाउ फिक्स हो चुका है। मुझे नहीं लगता कि शुभमन गिल अभी उनको कोई हटा सकता है वहां पे, या किसी को ट्राई करने की जरूरत है। और ऐसा मैं नहीं, कई लोग मानते हैं, बट मैं जानना चाहूंगी प्रत्यय आपको क्या लगता है, क्या अभी भी है कुछ एक्सपेरिमेंट्स का जगह, या फिर इज इट लाइक क्वाइट फिक्स नाउ रोहित शर्मा एंड शुभमन गिल?
See, I think he has definitely sealed his position and absolutely in cement because the kind of year he has had right from the start, whether you talk about Test cricket scoring a century in Ahmedabad, a double hundred that he got, and after that the IPL, it was again a brilliant season that he has had. In between, there was a bit of a lull that he went by, some low scores, some string of low scores. But despite that, he's averaging over 70, 80, I guess, in ODI cricket this year, might even be more than that the last time I looked at the numbers. And the kind of performances he has been giving up, because he is someone who knows how to pace his innings really well, and he has the knack of playing the waiting game as well as batting fast as well. And there's no bigger resource, and there's no bigger luxury to have at the top of the order for someone so young to have that kind of understanding that when he has to shift the gears, that is the most exciting part about his batting, because he has got every stroke and plenty of inimitable strokes, I would say, because the manner in which he plays, there's a certain elegance, there's certain unmatched elegance that he has to his batting, and he is technically sound, a very very calm and composed kind of a shoulder over his head, and has the hunger for scoring big runs. So that is what I like about him the most. So I think he is definitely a player who has, purpose. He has kind of gotten his position cast in stone as far as his batting position is concerned. And Rohit Sharma, of course, he is a legend in when it comes to white ball cricket, and great credentials in red ball cricket as well. But like I said, see, this is a crop of players: Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Mohammad Shami, all these Ravindra Jadeja, all these players who are getting edging towards the wrong side of the 30s now. So they're closing in on 40, and you know that the inevitable transition is somewhere down the road, is just gradually approaching you, and you have to be prepared for that, because see, players will come and players will go, and you have to continuously make sure that the supply of players in your team is top notch. And in that regard, I think India is one of the best nations, because you have so many talents. There are so many people who are vying for that spot. There's a Kishan, there's a Gill, there's a Yashasvi Jaiswal, who you are not even perhaps talking about. Prithvi Shaw
Yeah.
has been in and out. Ruturaj Gaikwad has shown a lot of performances. So what Gill has done the best is that he has controlled the controllables really well. Every single time he has been given a chance, more often than not, he has given you what exactly you have demanded from him. And I think that's the best that he can do. So I think once Rohit Sharma steps aside from this team, you are definitely seeing Shubman Gill as one of the openers. Who would the second opener then be? Because right now Gill is your second opener, then he becomes your first. Who would
Yeah.
the second opener be? Is what all the upcoming games until Rohit Sharma's retirement are an audition for all the players. So I
Right.
think that yes, definitely he has his position secured, and a very very promising talent whom we are going to see for very long in Indian cricket.
चलिए इसी के साथ देखते हैं आज के सेगमेंट का आखिरी ट्वीट क्या कहता है वो ट्वीट इस मुकाबले को लेकर के। तो हम देख सकते हैं मोस्ट हंड्रेड्स इन ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप एक्टिव प्लेयर्स, और हम कैप्टन रोहित शर्मा लव्स टू प्ले इन बिग इवेंट्स, और जैसा कि हम नंबर्स देख पा रहे हैं 6 रोहित शर्मा के नाम हंड्रेड्स रही हैं वर्ल्ड कप ओडीआई वर्ल्ड कप में, जिसमें से 5 तो 2019 वर्ल्ड कप में ही आ गई थी। और इसके अलावा डेविड वार्नर की तरफ से 4 हैं, शिखर धवन के नाम पे 3 हैं, जो रूट के नाम पे 3 हैं। और जब भी बारी आती है आईसीसी टूर्नामेंट्स की, शिखर धवन हमें वहां दिख ही जाते हैं बाय मेकिंग सम ऑफ द अदर रिकॉर्ड अंडर हिज नेम। और डेफिनेटली बहुत सारे लोग मिस आउट कर रहे हैं आज भी इनको लेकर के, बहुत सारे रील्स और वीडियोस हम देखते हैं जहां पीपल आर मिसिंग शिखर धवन। बट प्रत्यय ऑन द प्रैक्टिकल नोट ऑफ इट, नॉट एट द इमोशनल नोट ऑफ इट, द वे इंडिया टीम हैज क्रिएटेड देयर कॉम्बिनेशन, do you see there was any space for Shikhar Dhawan? Because I have seen people just telling this कि अच्छा वो opening का slot अगर नहीं है उसको number 3, number 4, number 5 पे खिला दो। I was like, it does not happen like that. It does not have to be like that. But there are a lot of people who are discussing that Shikhar Dhawan should be part of it. But do you see there is any space for any other player, not just Shikhar Dhawan, in this particular 11 for the World Cup? Is it the best combination we are going to have?
See, I think for Shikhar Dhawan, of course, he has been a champion batter when it comes to ICC tournaments, and even in general. He has served the Indian team for very long. But I think there really was no space for him to be accommodated at the top of the order, specifically given the fact that Rohit is your captain, and Shubman Gill, you can't ignore him with the kind of form that he has had. No matter how much Dhawan experience is what he carries with along with himself, you still can't slot him in and at the expense of someone like a Gill. And you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at the future. Gill is young, and he is someone who is already showing enough to be a fit at this level. Dhawan, of course, he has had his moment in the sun. And now it's perhaps time for him to wrap up, because he himself understand that, he has himself admitted that, he knows that age is not on his side. So keeping someone out like a Gill in his prime, in his youth, for someone who is, on upon whom the sun has already set, that wouldn't really have been a wise decision. Personally
Right.
as well, like you said that, batting him at 4-5, he hasn't really done that. So it won't really make a lot of sense. And then whom would you replace at number 4 or 5 to slot Dhawan in? So I've never been a fan of playing, players out of their positions. So I don't think Dhawan had a space. But yes, I do feel that Ravi Chandran Ashwin, Yuzvendra Chahal, these were 2 3 players, to an extent even Sanju Samson, maybe because he's plagued by inconsistencies. That is the reason that you perhaps would not want to have him in a squad for a tournament like a World Cup. But Ravi Chandran Ashwin, I think that his white ball cricket has really suffered a lot, because ever since, Ravindra Jadeja and Ravi Chandran Ashwin, they used to form a very formidable partnership. The rise of Kulcha, closer to 2018 and 19, that kind of threw Ravichandran Ashwin out of contention from white ball cricket. Jadeja somehow still stayed because of the kind of fielding brilliance he brings in, because of the all-round capabilities that he has. But Ashwin had to suffer, and then gradually you even broke the Kulcha partnership once you saw that that combination did not work out too well in the 2019 World Cup. So I think that yes, Ashwin is one of the players whom I really felt could end up taking a lot more wickets in ODIs. He has around 150. He could have well ended up with even 300, close to 300, 350 wickets in ODIs had he been a regular in the team. So I think that if not having an off spinner, there has been a talk around that as well. Right now, the spin options that you have, Jadeja, Akshar, and Kuldeep, all three are world class options, no denying that. But a cricketer like Ashwin, who can give you batting depth as well, a very thinking cricketer. I always say that for him, because
Right.
all the time he has something or the other going on in his mind, how to outfox the adversary. He's a master at that. So perhaps in my team, because of a penchant that I have towards Ashwin, I would have wanted to see him in. But again, I'm not really sure at whose expense. Maybe an Akshar Patel, maybe at his expense.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I think it's a squad in which most of the players, at least 8 to 9 players, truly pick themselves up.
Right.
Jasprit Bumrah is going to be there, Kohli is going to be there, Rohit is going to be there. You have KL, you have Surya Kumar. Surya Kumar can be slightly dubious. In the bowling wise, you have Shami, you have Siraj. So most of the players are picking yourself. What you had was 2 3 spots on which you had to slightly think about कि in positions पे हम किनको रख सकते हैं. And in that position you have to take about the recent form, किसने कितना गेम खेला है, किसको कितना गेम टाइम है, किसका फॉर्म कैसा है. On those parameters you make the decisions. So I think it's a squad which can definitely lift the trophy, playing at home, not to forget that. But I don't really think that Dhawan could have been a part of this 11. Or you can talk about it until as long as you like, but ultimately the fact remains that these are
Right.
the 15 that are going to play the World Cup.
I have also seen people telling ki let Dhoni make a comeback for the World Cup. Only then we will maybe able to win the trophy. But it's okay. Let people say whatever they want to say. But this is the quite a great combination which India can create for this World Cup, and we are very hopeful that India will lift this trophy. Now I'm going to end this session here because match is going to start any moment. But before that, I'm going to give you just 2 quick updates. Number one, Indian women's team has reached the Asian Games final by winning a match against Bangladesh in just 52 runs. They have to chase down in 8.2 overs. That was quite a great win, and this is the first time and our Indian team has reached an Asian Games final, even in a cricket match itself, because it is the first time that the Asian Games is also facing hosting cricket as one of the games. Another update is today is that day when Indian team has won the T20 World Cup as well, 2007, which I'm talking, which was the first ICC trophy in terms of T20 format, and India has won that game this day. That happened. Thank you so much, Pratay, for joining me here. हम इस conversation को फिर से continue करेंगे after the match. Tell you all the updates regarding it. Thank you so much for joining me, each and everyone. Keep watching CricTrackers in the Air Show.